What's going on, my good people? Mike Hidalgo here. Thank you for joining me on another FCP Euro DIY. Today, we're going to be working on a 2018 Volvo XC90. Today on the XC90 behind me, we're going to be covering how to replace one of the updated seals that belong to the panoramic sunroof system on these vehicles. This is applicable to all your SPA-chassis vehicles, meaning your XC90s, V90s, cross-country models of those as well, the V60s and XC60s, all that good stuff. This is a seal that lives between the two big panels. This is attached to the second panel that is fixed to the vehicle. And what happens over time is the rubber just degrades, it shrinks, kind of a poor design. You start to get wind noise inside of the cabin. So this is going to help reduce that, if not eliminate it completely. But in order to do that, we do have to pull the panel out. So we're going to show you how to do that today. But before we get started on that, let's take a look at some of the tools we're going to need for this DIY. For this DIY, we're going to be using a T25 and a 1/4 inch ratchet. Those are going to be the most important tools you need. An extended T25 or one with an extension is going to be your best friend. Small flathead screwdriver. I think I'm going to be using this to clean out some of the channels on the glass. We have a flashlight so we can see what we're doing. And then this is just a wax and grease remover, but something as simple as rubbing alcohol will be good for prepping the surfaces for the adhesive on our new seal. And as always, when dealing with glass, a good surface to work on is going to be needed, and a second set of hands never hurts. Something that you may want to consider ahead of time is either having some sort of soapy water or a silicone grease for riding the new seals onto the channels of the glass. We're going to explore that as we go. We'll try both, and I'll let you know which one works a little bit better. Now we know what we're working with. Let's go ahead and get started. We are inside the XC90. To get this back panel off, we do have to remove this weather stripping here. We don't have to remove it all the way, but it's just like any other weather stripping that you see like on the hood or underneath the hood or underneath a door. You can find it back here and just pull it towards you, just like so. It has a proper channel here that just keys into the metal on the vehicle. So this is about as far as we need to go to expose the 3 Torx bolts that we have here. We have 3 on either side. So now we're going to go ahead and zap these babies out. So we have 3 T25s that we're going to take out. Again, the extended T25 makes it a little bit easier. These aren't very tight, so just note that when you install everything later, you don't need to crank these down like crazy. All right, with that done, we're just gonna flip around and do the same thing on the passenger side. If you haven't done so already, make sure that the front portion of the glass is popped up, just so you have some working room. At this point, we have all 6 of the T25s out. We should be able to just push up on the panel gently and lift it out of its home. Perfect. Okay. With that nice and loose, let's head on top of the vehicle and we can work on pulling this panel out. Now we need to work the panel out of the car. Again, front portion of it tilted up. We're going to lift up. Sometimes it helps to push from underneath. Don't be afraid to get a second set of hands right now. This is probably the most crucial part of this whole repair. It's just being gentle with the glass and not breaking it. And we just want to work the panel forward. So from underneath the car, I'm just reaching in, sliding that forward so we can lift it up from the back. We'll have to set that back in its place and then we can pull out. All right, with the glass out, let's bring this over to the workbench and we can show you how to replace this nasty seal. We're over on the workbench. We have a nice soft moving blanket to rest our glass on so we don't risk scratching it or breaking it. That little rubber weather stripping that came off as we pulled it out just attaches back onto the back of the glass. There is a channel on both the underside of the glass right here that this seal bites onto. Pretty standard. You can kind of see that right there. And there's a channel on the top side. Just push it back on. It might move on you again still when you go to bring the glass over to the car, but it's pretty easy to just get it to bite back in place. So the seal that we're going to be focusing on is going to be the front 3 sides, the main front one, which has the adhesive back into it, and then the sides would just kind of bite onto the glass. So let's work on getting this old one off first. You can even see before we really mess with it, it's already shrunken. So that just goes to show you this is now a 6-year-old car, and the seals are shrunken and it's garage kept. So as these cars go out of warranty, this is something that you can easily do yourself instead of paying the dealer thousands of dollars to replace it. But the weather stripping just pulls right off. Super simple. Just like that other seal, it just has channels that attach it to the glass. Same thing on this side. And then this side has the adhesive. So we're going to want to make sure we clean up all these surfaces really well. But just take your time, go very slowly. You can get most of the glue off. We'll probably have to go back and clean that up a little bit better. You can also probably use a little bit of heat to work it off. If you leave it behind, we're just going to have to work at it and get it off. So let's get the seal off first. Yeah, most of the adhesive is staying behind. If you push down on the seal, as you pull it away from the glass, it kind of helps lift off the adhesive. So you have less cleanup to do. Pulling up doesn't do the same, but pushing down does. Or at least it did for a little bit. All right, not too much residue left behind. Again, pushing down on the seal definitely helps. You don't want to use a razor blade or anything metal to really gouge up that rubber sealing surface. So now we're just going to work on removing the rest of the residue. You can pretty much just rub it off with your fingers. You can get some adhesive remover like Glue Gun, but that might be a little bit overkill. But if you have something lying around, or even like a rubber eraser wheel, you can just do it by hand. That'll work this off. So give us a minute to clean this up, and then we'll prep the surface for the new seal. I threw some gloves on. I actually used the rubber gloves to help me rub off the rest of the residue up front. And then I used some surface prep. This is just a wax and grease remover to get any wax or grease or fingerprints, dirt, all that good stuff off, so that our new seal has a good, or a new adhesive has a good mating surface. But the other thing you want to look at is the channels up top here on the top side of the glass. There's little grooves that the seals are going to ride in. That's what we peeled them off earlier. So clean those out. Use something dull. I have this really worn out flathead screwdriver, which you see me use quite often. I'm just going to clean out the channels. You can use a little toothbrush and soap and water if you want to be even more gentle. But make sure that that top side's nice and clean before we fit on the new seal. Now, while there's no adhesive going on the sides, I'm still going to use the same wax and grease remover just to wipe everything down nicely. All right, before we take the adhesive strip off of our new seal, let's do a dry fit first to make sure that it's all going to fit properly and you can get a good feel for how it's going to go on. That way, once the adhesive strip is ready and primed to be stuck on, you're not figuring out where it should sit and all that pesky stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to feed the seal on to the channel on the glass. I'll give you a better look at that on the other side. Using a little bit of soapy water to lube up the track. Again, we're not trying to get this thing saturated and super wet and trap that moisture in there forever, but just a little bit of water. So if you can see here on the end of the seal, just like any standard seal, there's a little groove cut out where it's going to slide onto the channel on the glass. And that channel is the one that we just cleaned out using our flat blade. So that's what this is riding on. There's a channel on the top and bottom. You want to make sure you get that started on there and then just slide it down like we did. You can use something else like a light silicone, something that won't deteriorate the rubber if you're having a hard time with the soapy water. It's a tight fit, but once you get it started, you can kind of work it on the rest of the way. We still have the adhesive strip or the backing to it on the seal. We haven't stuck this on yet. We haven't committed fully, if you will, just so that we can see how the seal should sit. Around the corners, it's going to kind of overlap a little bit over the glass. So once you're happy with where the seal is positioned, there is a little plastic tab on the seal. This is going to help you just pull up the backing without having to get in there and pry it off or anything like that. However, mine is facing the bottom. So I'm going to just sneak it up towards the top, and then we'll pull it up. We'll keep the seal nice and flush to the glass. And just make sure it's fitted and pressed in up against the glass as best as possible. Once this is back in the car, close that front part of the sunroof and just give it a couple of days to fully seal and squish together, and you'll be good to go. But at this point, other than wiping the glass down a bit, we're ready to go back in the car. Again, we have our rear seal installed, which is no big deal if it pops out on you again while you were working or when you go to install it. You'll have a little bit of room to wiggle that back on there. But with that, let's hop back over to the XC90. Now we can just go ahead and feed our glass back into our car. Again, second set of hands can make this much easier. Just going to kind of get it roughly in place and slide it forward underneath our tilted glass. All right, now we can start working it back. I'm just using my hand underneath to kind of help lift it. And then I do the same thing up top. So right now I have the glass in an okay spot, but I need to kind of get over and move it back a little bit because it's getting stuck on the mounting tabs for the hardware. So I'm going to climb inside the car and just push up gently from the underneath of the car and just kind of pop the glass over. One, if you have like suction cups or again a second set of hands, it might be a little bit easier. So I'm just going to climb inside, palm up the glass a little bit, try to get it one track back if that makes sense, again on the other side of the mounting tabs. And then we should be able to push it back in underneath the roof here and then tuck it into place. Okay, so right now I'm just kind of lifting the glass. I'm trying to get it back. There we go. And now, just make sure it's in on this side as well, on the driver's side. And now we should be tucked in. So again, just looking at the side of the glass and the back, you want to make sure that it's sitting nice and level. You don't want it to be out too far where you have a gap. And you don't want it to be down too far where you also have a gap on the inverse. So using a second set of eyes doesn't hurt to help you level the glass out nicely as you get your hardware started. Cool. So now that we have the glass in place, if you look inside, you can see the tabs and how they line up with the bolt holes. One thing you want to keep in mind is if you just leave the glass in how it is, it's going to sink in a little more than you want it to. So we're going to use the tabs inside to kind of help us level out the glass so it's nice and flush with the roof of the car. Again, second set of eyes is going to make that easier. If you have someone outside of the car telling you how far up you've gone, and if it looks nice and level, you can do that as well. But with that, let's hop inside the car and get these T25 situated. So now I have JR. I'm just going to get this bolt started in by hand, and he's going to guide me up top. So right now, we're going to go up a little bit. All right, we're just going to get this gently snug up. We're going to want to get the whole side, but we don't want to make this too tight where we can't adjust the glass after the fact if we need to. So again, T25, barely snugged up. Now let's get the rest of that side nice and flush up top there. All right, let's do the same thing on the passenger side. While I have you here, we're going to tuck up our weather stripping once more. Again, kind of like the seal that was at the back of the glass, just a little channel that runs up on this metal frame underneath where your T25 sit. So we're just going to keep this one and just use the already mounted part of the seal to guide the rest in. And this part of it is more for aesthetic than anything else, so don't worry about causing a leak or anything because it's not seated perfectly. It's really just blocking in the hardware. Same thing here. We're going to get our seal, guide that baby back in. And with that, that is going to conclude this DIY for today. Overall, a really straightforward and easy job on the SPA Let me know down below. Chassis vehicles. If you liked it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Any questions, leave those in the comment section below. And if you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing. We make new ones all the time. As always, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.